Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 356 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Dr. Janet Hall. And this is going to be a different kind of episode than I've ever had on for sure. And I may have to make it explicit. I'm not sure, but I'm calling it, quote, Women's Empowerment Week. All right. But really, I was thinking about maybe I should call it Sex Week because Dr. Hall is a sex expert. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, how'd you like to hear your own voice here on Screw the Commute? Well, if you learned anything, you'll learn some stuff on this episode. I'll tell you that. If you learned anything that helped you, just visit screwthecommute.com. There's a little blue bar on the side that says send a voicemail. You can leave a testimonial for the show, tell us what you learned, and also put your website in there so you get a big shout out on a future episode of Screw the Commute. While you're at it, pick up a copy of our automation ebook. We've been giving this away on the show. We sell it for $27, but it's yours free for listening to the show. And it's helped me handle up to 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers without pulling my hair out. So it automates your business. It saved me literally, we figured it out, millions of keystrokes. So get this book. Yours free, screwthecommute.com/automate free, screwthecommute.com/automate free. While you're over there, pick up a copy of our podcast app for your cell phone or tablet. You can take us with you on the road. It does all kinds of cool things, and we have video to teach you how to use it and screen captures and all that stuff. Now, people are still crying about the pandemic, and I know it's hurt a lot of people. I get that. My job is to help you make money, though, and to keep your family safe and secure financially. So I don't cry about it. It hasn't affected me much at all, and my students that have learned to sell online. Now, I've been doing it for 26 years, been teaching it for well over 20 years, and about 12 years ago, I formalized the training in the only licensed dedicated internet marketing school in the country, imtcva.org. We'll have everything in the show notes for myself and Jan and everybody. So you got to check this out. People nowadays are spending traditional education, running up big debt, and then competing for jobs at Starbucks. So this is no good. What I teach in the school is the hardcore in-demand skills necessary and needed by every business on earth. They all have email marketing and websites and shopping carts and chatbots and all that stuff. So your people in your life could be making money within a few months rather than going 4 years out of the job market, coming home and living with you. Right? So check it out at imtcva.org. A little bit later, I'll tell you how you can get a scholarship that you can gift, either use for yourself or gift to somebody if you're in my mentor program. Okay, let's get to the main event. After 40 years as a clinical psychologist, Dr. Janet Hall now consults as a hypnotherapist and sex therapist in Melbourne, Australia. First sex therapist on the Screw the Commute show. An author and speaker, Jan is regularly featured on television, radio, print, and online media. She has 52 audios on audible.com, Kindle books on Amazon, 8 paperback books on parenting and sex topics, and her gift is to make psychological information user-friendly and easily understood. Jan, are you ready to screw?
I sure am, Tom.
Yes. How you doing? I've known you for a long time.
Yes, and you've given me some great tips over the years, so I'm very grateful to have been part of your internet training.
Oh man, yeah, I've been thrilled. I went to Australia one time. And boy, that killed me because I'm such a big fat boy, and the plane ride killed me. But boy, I loved it down there. It was just so nice. But tell everybody what you're doing nowadays.
Well, I like to see myself as a success coach as my umbrella because my daughter Ella says, "Mum, you used to be a psychologist of everything." And of course, we know when you're marketing yourself, you need to be a niche, and
Right.
it's very hard for me because I really am jack of all trades
Hmm.
and pretty well master of them. But I concentrate on helping people who have obstacles and problems with their sex lives to solve those so that they can have sensational sex in a loving relationship. And that is a real challenge, and I just love it. And I've also been very lucky to be invited to be an expert in much media about sex. For instance, I've actually been on 60 Minutes in Australia, Tom, 3 times. And one of them was on the what the horrible pornography education, if you can call it that. Um, and they had this little skanky 18-year-old who got
Skanky.
12 minutes out of the 20, and I only got about 4. But anyway, I was also the sex expert on a show in Australia called Sex Life that went for 2 years, and my poor old mum was so embarrassed. She said, "Oh, you're not going to go on TV and talk about sex, are you?"
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I am. So I'm basically helping guys who have problems with erections, premature ejaculation, and another one people don't know much about called inability or delayed ejaculation. Doesn't that sound awful? And women with orgasms, wanting to have them or have lots more of them. Painful sex, which is also very misunderstood, and women who are stuck in their heads because they just have never been empowered. So it's great. You know, you feel like you're in this innovative self discovery, but also to teach other people the world about sexual pleasure.
Wow, wow, wow. And you've been on 60 Minutes 3 times, huh?
Yeah, not all of them were about sex,
Well,
but
yeah, I'm thinking 60 minutes, man. I'm lucky if I can go 2 minutes. So you work on that, I guess. So
all right.
I actually have a joke about this, and if you really think it's nasty, offensive, I'll cut it out. But it's a girl told me she wanted 12 inches and make it hurt, so I did it 3 times and smacked her in the face.
Oh, it's a bit corny.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible. We're going to
Yeah.
definitely make this explicit anyway. So did you ever have a job? I mean, how do you prepare for a line of work like this?
Well, I didn't prepare. I'm very much self-taught, but originally I was a primary school teacher, and I could only stand that for 2 years. And then I started to be a school psychologist, and I could only stand that for 2 years.
And
And I
primary
was
school
really,
was what ages?
it's like 6 till 12.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I couldn't stand that. So luckily for me, I got pregnant. I was planning to get pregnant,
Hmm.
and I was able to start my own private practice and work from home. And I was really into parenting because I was a new parent, and I wrote 6 books on parenting. And
Wow.
my two favorite one's called Fight Free Families, which is a myth, of course, because you learn all about fighting in your family, and hopefully parents need to coach their children to be fair in fighting, because fighting is just a natural thing about human beings. But the one I'm most proud of in parenting is Fear-Free Children. There's so much out there about naughty kids and how to handle them, but only now are we really starting to realize how much our world is totally baffling for kids, and they get very anxious. So I still got my foot in the door with parenting, I guess, but I do get bored with it, and I just get very excited to be in the innovative world of sex therapy.
Wow. And it's probably worse with the kids nowadays with the internet, with all the bullying and just all the crazy and the sexting and all the stuff that maybe shouldn't be in the primary school age.
Well, you wouldn't realize that the statistic about the age most young boys are shown pornography, and then independently, because they have access to all the tech, look it up, is now 10.
Oh man.
So all those parents out there with kids, like 10, don't think that they're innocent because they have been exposed to it. And even girls as young as 8 are being shown it by their naughty big brothers or the boy next door. So it's a pandemic of its own kind. And the young men who get caught up in it, and we're talking more about the 13 to 14-year-olds now, grow into young adult men who are often impotent, Tom. Can you believe it?
Oh,
because that's with a real girl, a real live girl, because they've been watching porn, which is so unreal for so many years that
you
they
mean
don't
that's
know.
Not real?
Porn?
Oh
no,
my God, you're shattering my.
Oh, come on. That's why I call it skanky.
Yeah.
It's totally, but it's so addictive. They say the same pathways in the brain that light up the dopamine in not just men, women can get addicted to porn too, but the same pathways are next to the same pathways that they get a hit on cocaine. Now, I've never taken cocaine, but can you imagine that's why so many young men get addicted to porn?
Wow, and it's kind of ironic the word dick is in addictive. so
I never thought of that one before, Tom.
So now you also wrote a book on goal setting. Man, you are all over the place, right?
Yeah. Well, that was in the early days. And I love goal setting. I love concretely putting my dreams onto paper. So the very first software program in Australia, which was ahead of its time, really, I wrote the manual for that. So I know a lot about goal setting, and I'd love to tell you a story about that.
Yeah, please.
Well, so after 18 years of marriage and 2 kids, my husband left me for another woman. Shock horror. He actually did me a great favor, as it turns out, all these years later, because we weren't suited. But anyway, there I was, a single mum, and I wrote down all my goals, and I was listening to the American speakers. It was called national speakers, and there was a fabulous speaker who said the best gig a speaker can ever have is called the $1 Million Round Table, and that's for insurance consultants, financial advisors, and I think that last year they had 13,000 people there in New Orleans. In New Orleans, I think. Can you imagine? So I wrote down on my goals paper that I would be invited. Apparently, you don't knock on the door and say, pick me,
right.
Or you didn't in those days. And so there it was. I am invited. You know what? 19 years later, I got up one morning on a cold, horrible winter's day in Melbourne, opened up my emails, and there was an invitation. Would you like to come to Indianapolis at the time? To speak at the $1 Million Round Table. And the topic, Tom, was, wait for it, drum roll, great sex in a loving relationship. So that was the first time they'd ever had the sex topic, because they normally focus very much on business.
Right.
And so that was a great privilege. And that was a real example of how you can have your dreams come true. And there I was.
Well, what did you talk about? What did you talk about?
Well, it was difficult because, I didn't want to rock too many social mores, so to speak. I'll just tell you, though, the one funny thing in the hotel, the spruikers were saying for people where to go to the room, you know what that's like.
What's a spruiker? What's a spruiker?
A spruiker is someone who has to call out a message.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they're saying, great sex upstairs, great sex upstairs.
All right, got it.
Yeah. Anyway, so 300 people. In fact,
Nobody ever calls that out at my house for some reason. I don't know.
No. Anyway, they didn't have a lot of people that year. Because
and what was the male-female percentage?
There were a lot of women.
Okay.
A lot of women.
Okay.
I reckon maybe 40% women.
Okay, great.
Though a lot of people would bring their wives too, because it's a great junket to go into something like that. So anyway, there I was to talk about sex. So of course I worked very hard on making it sort of like challenging, but not what are you too, not too explicit.
Right.
So I talked about what the advantages or the benefits of sex, and I made it very funny. So I'm full of corny jokes too. And the advantages of great sex are that, of course, it is the pleasure, the dopamine, the oxytocin, which is the touching feel good. And did you know also, maybe you would know that an orgasm can help you sleep, so and relax, and blood flows to the brain, so
Is
that
that
some
for
of
both
my
men and women?
yes, but men are the ones that always go to sleep
Right.
straight after
Right.
sex, aren't they?
After their
Um,
cigarette, yeah.
Yeah, not hopefully not so much
No,
nowadays.
after their vape.
That's a filthy habit in the bedroom anyway. So the advantages are about the sleep, and one of the things also is about if you have a migraine. This is mostly for women. An orgasm can actually make the blood rush to the head, and then rush back down to the genitals, so your migraine will go away. Isn't
Well,
that a
that's usually the excuse a
great
lot
tip?
of women use to get out of having sex, isn't it?
I hoped you'd say that.
Yes.
Here's one of my
That's what I
corny
heard
jokes.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, here's one of my corny jokes about that. The guy whose wife always said, "I've got a headache." So one day he said to her, "Honey, here's your headache tablets." And she said, "I don't need headache tablets." And he said, "Good."
That's a good one.
Yeah. Anyway, what's some more advantages? It's free, it's fun, or it should be fun.
Oh,
We
it's
make
free.
family.
Now you tell me.
It is free in a loving relationship. Remember?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the topic, and also in a loving relationship where you can plan to have babies, you can make babies, but really
That's
it is
not
about
free.
no, that's very expensive.
That's 18 years worth.
The greatest advantage of sex in a loving relationship is the intimacy and the connection and the trust. It's just such a beautiful thing. And that's for all, now we've got so many flavors of sexual preference too, from, binary to bisexual to all sorts of kinks and goodness
But
knows what.
you haven't been watching US TV lately, because our crazy senator from Hawaii said sexual preference is an offensive word to use now. This lady's crazy.
Wow,
she's crazy.
that is crazy.
She's crazy.
Anyway, so that's the main thing was what are the advantages and the benefits. But the next thing is, if sex is so good for us, why are we often just too busy? And we have too many what I call sex excuses. Now, one of those excuses really comes from that lack of empowerment, particularly for women. I say, if every mother would wave a magic wand over her 10-year-old girl and say, "You are a sex goddess and you have my permission to be one." But we grow up, well, women do, we grow up with these taboos. It's not nice, to be sexy. And then mostly,
well, you're skanky. You're skanky if you're sexy. That's what they're telling you.
That's right. You can be. You can feel like that because of the porn. And then we get so busy because women are perfectionists, or many men as well too. But the busy women, and I believe you're going to have my daughter Ella speaking about sex too.
She's going to be on. This is Wednesday. She'll be on Friday.
Great. And she will really tell you about how busy women put their sex lives on the shelf. So sex excuses: we're time poor, we're too tired, we're too tense, we can have troubled relationships. Some guys in particular have really bad technique, and they're ignorant about what women want. And that's because they've watched too much porn, or they just haven't ever bothered to find out what women like in bed. So it's a rude word, but I'll say it anyway. In Australia, we call them dud roots. Anyway, what's another T word for the excuses? Turned off the switch. Now, this can happen to women, those busy women, very, very often, but more and more men, Tom, can you believe it, have lost their libido. They get really, really wrapped up in three things. One's money, making money. The other one is sport. They're triathletes. I mean, partly maybe the triathletes are too tired for sex physically. And the other one is what do I call him? The couch potato,
Mm-hmm.
the guy that watches sport on telly all the time. You know, those guys that wear their shirts hanging out so their bum crack shows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So isn't there anything to do with being intimidated by all the great women out there nowadays?
Well, are you speaking for yourself?
No, I'm just saying that aren't the women have come so far in society, and half the business, more than half the business in the United States is owned by women. And do you think some of these guys are getting intimidated?
Well, that is possible, but you know, there's not all the women are like that. And I mean, a lot of women have told me over the years, you know, I go out with my girlfriends to a nightclub and no guy comes up to me. Well, nowadays they do internet dating, which is so much easier. But, you know, guys are intimidated. They are anxious. And being anxious is, I think, the universal thing about why many people make excuses. But you know what the other one might be?
Hmm.
It's people think they're too old. Now, I don't think you're ever too old. I mean, sure, you might not be able to swing from the chandeliers, but you can certainly be intimate and you can give each other pleasure with all sorts of comfortable ways of exchanging. And you should never stop. A guy, Alex Comport, he was the one who wrote the first The Joy of Sex book. And he said that people give up sex the same as they give up bicycle riding. They think, yeah, wait for it. They think it's silly. They might be sick or they just don't have a bike. So we talked about advantages of sex, the benefits. We've talked about the sex excuses. We really do have to acknowledge there are male-female sex differences, but that's very often a bad stereotype too, Tom. And you know the stereotype about how men are sex maniacs,
Mm-hmm.
and women are, you know, sex shy, or I love this joke. What's the difference between a prostitute, your mistress, or your wife?
What?
The prostitute says, faster, faster, get it over with, give me the money and go. Your mistress says, slower, slower, take your time. And your wife says, beige. I think we'll paint the ceiling beige. Anyway, look, those stereotypes really need to be thrown out the window now. And we need to, you know, like basically when we meet somebody, ask about their sexual history, share yours. Though, here's my hot tip for that. Don't tell the overwhelming truth. If you tell too much, they'll use it against you later. And like one guy came to see me, he was a doctor and he got married later in life. And he said, I found my wife's diary and it was a sex diary. And she'd had sex with 220 men. This is before she turned 40. And I said, wow, that is a lot. But what about you? How many women would you have had sex with? Oh, probably only 160. Real stories, Tom. It's amazing what I learn.
I'll bet.
Anyway, so aware of male-female sex differences and how to talk about it. And also, one of the biggest myths of all about sex is that, oh, it should be spontaneous. Now, I'm going to do an online course called Find Time to Make Exquisite Love. Because people say to me, oh, if you plan for it, if you have to find the time, then it's not spontaneous, so it's not real sex. And I want to teach those people, change your negative mindset. And the truth of it is, many people tell me they're lucky to have sex once a month. And so even though it might...
And once a year with an actual partner.
Oh, Tom. No, that mostly they're having sex with themselves watching porn.
Yeah.
You know what I call that? I told you I was cheeky. I call it watch and wank.
W and W.
Yeah, and there was another guy who was a very successful entrepreneur and didn't have to go to an office every day while his family was out, and he'd watch, wank, and do weed, marijuana at the same time. And luckily he did come to see me because he said, I'm not happy with myself. He was the money making and also the triathlete. And he said, I feel so out of integrity with who I really am. So, it's great how men and women will come in and be honest and say, I want to be a better person. And I know that my sexuality is something that I need to honor and not disrespect.
So you've made a business out of this for many years, right?
That's right. I have, all those audible hypnosis, or I do a lot of hypnosis because of their sexual anxiety. Yeah.
So have you ever gotten screwed in business?
Well, unfortunately, I certainly have. So when I had been to the $1 Million Round Table, and that was my goal, I took up with a guy who was a goal setting getting expert. Well, he was also an expert at frauding my credit card.
Oh, man.
And so, yeah, so at one stage it was $100,000 that he was into me, Tom. And
this was a boyfriend or just
no, a boyfriend and a colleague, and that's how he got into my credit card.
Oh.
He promised me the earth, so that in the end I lost $50,000 in his enterprises and his promises.
Oh,
but
man.
They talk about the greatest form of revenge is success, because 7 years after I spoke about sex at the $1 Million Round Table, I was invited again. And this time I called my talk Dodging Dodgy People. I feel like as a psychologist, I'm an expert in teaching people about that, the narcissists of the world and the con men. So I made my presentation, and this guy had owned a beautiful big wooden sailing ship. And I bailed him out of his bankruptcy by helping get that wooden ship. Now, when he really started to fraud me, he wanted the ship back, and I said no. So I put up my first slide in my talk was, has anybody else ever been, I didn't use the word screwed, but ever been, cheated by somebody? Because this is the boat that I was left with after this man did. And I said, he wanted to be a speaker, and I'm a speaker. And the greatest form of revenge is success. And then I stood up with my hands up in the air like I'd just climbed a mountain. And I said, and look, who's the one here at $1 Million Round Table presenting a topic of dodging dodgy people? There was my success in that revenge.
So what's coming up for you? You're doing stuff with your daughter, right? And which, like I said, we're going to have her on Friday. And so what are you guys promoting together?
I'm so glad you asked. Well, my daughter is absolutely magnificent. Well, I guess all mothers think that. But 5 years ago, she surprised me by saying, Mum, I've been studying tantric sex. And tantric sex is absolutely misunderstood. She'll probably tell you, give you all a great education on that. But it's actually about being holistic, spirit, mind, heart, and body. So at that time, I was getting a lot of women, the busy women, who were stuck in their head and too busy for sex. Or one girl, she had 5 children. She was only 35. And she said, Dr. Jan, I've never had an orgasm. So I said, Ella, I've worked with this girl, Susie, for a year now, teaching her everything I know about orgasms, but she's still not, or she's having some, but with the vibrator. And Ella said, you watch, Mum, I'll get Susie out of her head and into her body. So we've now formed a business, the Pleasure Power Experts, where we call it where head, and I'm Dr. Jan, the head expert, meets the heart and the holistic, and that's the Ella.
Now, there's a joke there, don't you?
No. What's that one?
Well, the head means a certain thing, and
yeah, that's right. And men often think too much with the wrong head. I have heard,
there you go.
I have heard that joke. But anyway, the course is really for women. We'll do some more work for men, but do you know what? We did some pilot studies. We've put the course together now. And all the women out there listening, and even the men, you go ask your woman, what did their mother teach them about sex? And almost inevitably, the woman says, do you know what? she taught me nothing. She taught me don't get pregnant until you're married, or maybe don't have sex till you're married. But otherwise, their mother never waved that magic wand. The mother never said, you are a sex goddess. So Ella and I, in our Women's Pleasure Power course, are giving women permission to be sex goddesses. And we would like to offer all of your listeners a discount on our course.
Beautiful.
Is that okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime you can be a sex goddess at a discount is a good deal. It's almost like Amazon Prime Day.
It really, yeah, I do. I know what that is. Anyway, it's only $99 and it's a 5-week course where you really dig into what were you taught that was not empowering, and how can you now become that sex goddess. We've got delicious and juicy bonuses worth $600, Tom. The course is only $99. And your listeners are going to get it for 25% off. That's only $75.
And they're not going to end up being skanky. They're going to be goddesses, right?
Yes, they sure are. And so what they need to do is go to our special Pleasure Power Experts /gold. You'll be able to put
We'll have that in the show notes for everybody. Yep.
Yeah. And the coupon is Antion 100.
It should have been Antion 69.
Oh, Tom.
Tom.
Sometimes
that's another thing. See, I would never in my whole life made a mistake in bed, which is like the mistake of hell, to call the girl the wrong name.
Oh, yeah.
So I call out my own name. Oh, Tom. So it's a little weird, I admit.
Dear.
Okay, well, we got to take a brief sponsor break, but when we come back, we're going to ask Jim what's a typical day look like for her and how she stays motivated. I'm almost afraid to ask that, but I will. So, folks, about 20 years ago, I kind of turned the internet marketing world on its head. There's that head word again. I'll never say that the same again, I guess. And that guys like me were charging $50,000, and women were charging $50,000 or $100,000 up front to teach you what we knew about internet marketing. And I knew a lot of these people. They'd be hiding out in Melbourne if you gave them $50,000 in the U.S. because they wouldn't teach you. So I said, that's too risky, and it's not right to put small businesses in that situation. So I charged a relatively small entry fee, and then I tied my success to your success. So for me to get my $50,000, you had to net $200,000. Well, people just loved this, and 1,700 plus students later, it's still going strong after 20 years. And I've been selling on the commercial internet for 26 years, since it started around 1994. And it's the longest running, most successful, most unique mentor program ever in this field. I've triple dog dared people to come up with another program and try to compare it to mine. And over 20 years, nobody has dared do it because of all the great features of mine. It's all one-on-one training. You have an immersion weekend at our retreat center. We have a TV studio where we shoot, one couple shot 53 videos. Each one of them on the open market goes between $700 and $1,500, and we just did it for them right in our studio. So, and edited them and all that stuff. And plus, you get a scholarship to my school that you can gift to someone in your life. And I had one guy join the mentor program. He's gifted it to his daughter, where he had spent $80,000 on her crappy education, and she's working some crappy job. After 1 month, she was making $1,000 a month on the side. 2 months later, she was up to $3,000. 4 months, she was up to $6,000 a month and didn't even graduate yet. So this is extremely powerful, in-demand information that we teach. So check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. It'll be in the show notes along with Jan's great stuff. And give us a call. We're very accessible. No high pressure. If you don't see the value of it, great. We go our separate ways, but it's nobody to this after 20 years has been able to put a program together that's as powerful as this one. All right, so let's get back to the main event. Dr. Janet Hall is here. She's a sex expert out of Melbourne, Australia. And her daughter's going to be here Friday giving the heart section of her talk. So, Jan, what's a typical day look like for you in this business?
Oh, it's always exciting because there's something new to learn. And, with the internet, I find that I can, suddenly lose a whole hour on finding out what the latest tips for how to have quick orgasms for women, for busy women.
It takes an hour to learn how to make a quick orgasm.
But, self-growth has always been, my biggest motivation. So
hey, wait a minute. While we're on the topic of orgasm. Okay.
No.
How long does an average orgasm go for a woman?
Well, that's what Ella can really teach you about on Friday.
Teach me or just tell me?
Oh, no. Well, she will tell everybody that women's orgasms can go for hours, even days.
God.
If they learn with multi-orgasmic, but typically, that you remember that.
What am I supposed to do while they're doing several day long?
Well, you can go.
Can I get on my computer?
Go to tantric retreats, and they will teach you how to do that.
Is she going to tell me about tantric? Because nobody that I know knows what the heck that is. It kind of reminds me of, we think like. I don't know if you know about Reiki. It's like a kind of...
Yes, I know about Reiki.
Okay, well, they don't touch the person in Reiki. So is it like that in Tantric? Is that Tantric, or do you actually orgasm and get touched and all that stuff?
Well, either or. Depends on what you want. It's that getting out of your head and it being into your body sometimes mean that you get touched. But
okay, so it's not just like Reiki where it's like no touching.
No.
All right, I'll get her. I'll make her describe it more.
All right. Okay. All right. But back to my self-growth.
Yeah.
So I practice what I preach. And when I get up in the morning, first thing I do is I write in my gratitude diary all the things that I'm grateful for about yesterday. I exercise with my beautiful second husband. I found the right one, and we've been married 20 years now. And of course, I plan my goals. And then I've always got a day pretty well planned out where I do some writing. I'm still writing my course, find time to make exquisite love, see a few clients. I'm not busy with clients anymore at my age, but I talk to a few people and I go on podcasts, and I'm about to start working on my own podcast, thanks to Tom.
Yay!
So I'm pretty busy. And of course, with lockdown, we've been really bad in Melbourne, Australia. And just yesterday we got out. So we still can't go interstate, but travel is my absolute love now. And I've been just about everywhere on my bucket list, and can't wait to do more.
You said you can't go into where? State?
Any other Australian state. They locked Victoria out. They said, we had 750 cases and we've had 850 deaths, which is nothing compared to the USA. But each state is independent within the nation. And so they closed their borders.
Wow.
And we haven't been able to even, catch the train from one capital city to the next. And the planes weren't working either. So we've been locked down for 6 months.
Right.
But we're getting out now. So we're going to go on an air safari where we're going to go right to the very tip of Australia. That's July next year.
You know what I'll bet will happen because of this? Well, they've always said that there's more babies like 9 months born from winter time because more people are inside. So I imagine there's going to be loads of babies coming after this.
Yes, absolutely. I've always said if there's like a power collapse, 9 months later, there's a baby boom.
There we go. Yeah. So any parting thoughts you have for, we call them our screwballs, people listen to this show, on besides going and getting your course, tell them more about the course. It's online, or what's it going to be? What's it like?
There's 5 videos of half an hour where Ella and I talk, just like mum and daughter having a cup of coffee, about all the sexual problems that women encounter and our good ideas for helping them overcome that, from having fabulous orgasms to dealing with that painful sex.
So guys
and
and men and women should watch this together or alone or what?
I think men should watch these videos. They will learn an
Oh,
awful lot.
these aren't just. Oh, that's right. These are for women, right?
Yeah, no, but we ask them, get your significant other
To watch it with you, right?
To watch it with you so that he will understand, appreciate, and you can share some of your own insights. Like
Right.
so many women were suffered from some kind of sexual abuse. You might think this might be simple, but just to even be constantly felt up while you're in public transport, for instance.
Is he allowed to have? Is he allowed to have a football game playing on his other TV while you're watching?
I think you should concentrate because there's a lot to learn. So, they get the PDFs, they get all these bonuses. In the bonus pack, that's a lot of stuff that I've done. And they actually can get at the webinar that I've since made with all the slides and my funny jokes of that first $1 million round table talk called Great Sex in a Loving Relationship. So that's a lot of fun for people to watch and then talk about.
Beautiful. So tell everybody how they get in touch with you if they have questions or anything.
Well, my website is Dr. as in the DR, Janet Hall, my whole name, .com.au. And I've actually got about 5 websites and a huge shop. So please come and look.
Beautiful. Yeah, and we'll have all this in the show notes for everybody. Well, thanks so much, Janet, for I think this is our first explicit episode. We have to put an E next to it on YouTube, but it'll probably get more listens than the regular ones.
Well, I hope so, because it is something we should all feel quite safe to talk about and laugh about and enjoy.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not a normal topic for this show, but still, it's business. You made a business out of this pleasurable topic, and helped a lot of people in the meantime, so good for you. Or what do you say? Good on you, right?
Yeah, good on you. Yeah,
good on
you. And good on you, Tom, for having me on and being willing to have people say, "Oh, we're really talking about sex," because that's a brave thing to do as well. Good on you.
Thank you. And this is episode 356, folks. So you go screwthecommute.com/356 and then watch Friday for her beautiful young daughter. On episode 357, we'll take this even further into the heart side of this. So thanks a lot, Janet, for coming on.
Thank you, Tom.
All right. We'll catch everybody on the next episode. See you later.